Want a crochet jacket with everyday function and style? This cozy bomber with a secret has you covered. Hey guys, I'm T, maker of 600 plus patterns and tutorials. Welcome to the channel. Today's tutorial is sporty with a twist. We're making a zip-up crochet bomber jacket that's as practical as it is stylish. And ribbed bottom for structure, this jacket features a full zipper closure, bringing everyday function to a handmade classic. It's warm, it's modern, and perfect for layering through the seasons. If you're new here, welcome. I share modern patterns and crochet tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday, so tell a friend, tap the bell, and subscribe so you never miss an upload. And if you enjoy the video, give it a big thumbs up or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it helps keep these tutorials free. So without further ado, let's make this crochet bomber jacket. Any category for yarn will work. I used a total of 665 grams, that's 1,195 yards if you're stateside, along with a 5mm hook. Pattern link below, use code TCDDIY for a discount on orders over $9.99. Stay to the end for this week's giveaway. We're using 5 stitches for this super cool jacket. They're on screen now, pause to check them out. This tutorial is for a size small. You can adjust it for your size, and I'll explain how to in the video. So without further ado, here's how to crochet your own bomber jacket. Getting this jacket started, we're shaping the neckline of our front panel with my new favorite time saver, the foundation single crochet. So we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn, make a slip knot, then grab our 5mm hook. Now this clever little hack merges our chain and first row in one smooth move. It saves time and works double duty to eliminate gaps in textured stitches like the sedge stitch that we're about to do later. It's basically crochet magic. And a bonus, it creates a sturdy and super flexible edge that's perfect for the zipper that we'll add at the very end. Let me show you how it works. We're all going to start with a chain 2. When we have that chain 2, into that first chain that we made, we're going to insert our hook underneath that front loop and the back loop at the same time. So bring your hook down underneath that front and back loop, and it should give us 2 strands on our hook plus our loop. We're going to yarn over and pull through just that strand, giving us 2 loops on our hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through just 1. This yarn over, pull through 1 gives us our first chain for our foundation single crochet. Then when we have these 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2. We have our first stitch completed. Let's do the next one. Taking a look at that chain, remember that we just did, we're going to insert our hook in through that front loop and that back bump again. So bring your hook down, in through that front loop, and through that back bump, yarn over, and pull through. When we have these 2 loops on our hook, we're going to yarn over, pull through just the first loop. Remember, pulling through that first loop gives us our first chain. You can see it a little bit better there. When we have these 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 2 stitches. Let's do this again. Into that last chain that we made, bring your hook down underneath that front loop and back bump at the same time. You may need to pull it apart just a smidge, but it is possible. Then pull through. Again, when we have these 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the first, yarn over, pull through 2. So far, we're all going to have 1, 2, 3 foundation single crochets. Now we're going to continue on with this step until we have a foundation single crochet chain that is in multiples of 3 that reaches from the base of our neck down to where like the bottom of this cardigan to be, but keeping in mind that we are going to have a bottom band as well. I'd like for mine to be cropped, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 42. That's just about 9.5 inches or 24 centimeters. But if you want yours longer, go ahead and make yours longer. And my front panels are actually already done, so I'm just going to be doing a small sample size with you, but don't worry, the instructions are going to be the same no matter what size we make. But a really quick side note, once when you have a few of them done, it may start to curl up on you like this. That's mainly due to tension, but don't worry, it'll actually all be fixed within the next row. You've got the perfect foundation down. Now it's time to make your project truly stand out with the gorgeously dimensional yet still manageable sedge stitch. This surprisingly simple stitch combines 3 basic stitches into a lush, high-end texture that'll elevate anything you craft. Now, a brief introduction to the sedge stitch. The first cluster of stitches of the sedge stitch is a little special in the way that it starts the same way, unless stated otherwise, of course, with half double and double into the same stitch, followed by the less fussy cluster of skipping the next 2 stitches, then single, half double, double, all into the same stitch. This cluster is going to make up the bulk of the sedge stitch and our cardigan, Finally, we're ending the row with a single crochet unless we're increasing or decreasing, which we will be learning about in just a sec. Now with that out of the way, let's get started. We're all going to start with our chain 2 and flip. For a non-increase row, to do our first sedge stitch, it's just going to be 1 half double, 1 double into the first stitch. So yarn over. Into that first stitch, we're going to insert, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook, so yarn over and pull through all 3. That gives us our half double. Then double crochet into the same stitch, so yarn over. Into that same stitch, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. That is our first sedge stitch. Now after our cluster of sedge stitches, what we're going to do is skip 2 stitches, and into the next we're now going to insert with a single half double double. So into that stitch with 1 single, into that same stitch with a half double, then into that same stitch with another double. Now for the rest of the row, it is going to be a repeat of this sedge stitch until we have 2 stitches left. So once more, we're going to skip 1, skip 2. Into that next, insert with 1 single, same stitch with 1 half, and same stitch with 1 double. And we're going to continue this till we have 2 stitches left, but a quick side note, after every cluster that we have, we are going to skip the following 2 stitches because that half double and double that we just worked into that same stitch actually count as those 2 stitches. If we work into there, we will accidentally be increasing. So just remember, single, half double, double into 1, skip the next 2, and repeat. Our first row is nearly complete. We're almost there. What we're going to do now that we have 2 stitches left is just 1 single crochet into the last stitch. So skip that second to last, into the last with just 1 single crochet, and this is our first row completed. We should have the same amount of stitches as foundation single crochets made because we're not increasing yet. Now the following row is going to be a repeat of this one, so to get that started, chain 2 and flip. As a refresher, our first sedge stitch, remember, is 1 half and 1 double into that same first stitch. Then after that first one, we're going to skip 2 stitches into the next, and the rest is going to be 1 single, 1 half, 1 double, all into the same stitch. And continue on with that second sedge until we have 2 stitches left. Row 2 is almost done. We should have 2 stitches left, just like the previous row since we aren't increasing. Just 1 single crochet into the top of that last stitch. Now for this pattern, we are going to be increasing into every 3rd row. Remember, we aren't going to be counting that foundation single crochet row, it's just the foundation row. So at the end of our row 3, leave the last 2 stitches, then we will increase at the end of that row together. We made our way down to the end of our row 1, 2, and 3. Now it's time for some easy breezy increases. So remember when we said we'll always end with a single crochet unless? This is the unless. To shape the base of our snazzy stand-up collar, we're going to do an increase of 3 by skipping 1 stitch, so that's per usual. Then into that last, 1 single, 2 half double, 1 double, all into that last stitch, instead of ending with the usual single crochet. Now this is going to be the end of row increase, which is slightly different from the beginning of row increase, but we'll get to that in just a bit. So like I said, we're going to skip a stitch, into that last, insert with 1 single, into that same last stitch, 2 half double, so there's 1, same last stitch with a second half, then with a double crochet. Now our row 3 is completed, and we should have 3 more stitches than our previous row, because remember our rows need to end in multiples of 3. Now the following 2 rows are going to be non-increase rows, so basically like our 2 last sedge stitch rows. So chain 2, flip our work. Make your way down to the sedge stitch. At the end of this row, chain 2, flip our work, make our way back up with a sedge stitch. Then I'll meet you back when we're about to get started on our row 6. Then we can start our row with the increase. And quickly, yes, the neckline is a 6-row repeat, but remember, we aren't counting that foundation row. It does seem like a lot. It's just to get that crisp neckline so that we can add our collar at the very end. But don't worry, I'm with you every step of the way. But after this, there's literally no more increases, just easy stitching for the rest of this jacket? Cardigan? I don't know, I think it's a jacket, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. We now have 5 sedge stitch rows completed. Now that we've added end of row increases to our repertoire, let's round out our bag of tricks with beginning of row increases, which means we're replacing that fussy first cluster with 2 doubles, 2 half, 1 single, all into that first stitch. So to get started on the increase, we're going to chain 3 and flip. Now, like I said, we're going to do 2 doubles, 2 half, and 1 single all into that same first stitch. Then continue with skipping 2 stitches into the next 1 single, 1 half, 1 double into that same stitch. Repeat this sedge stitch till we have 2 stitches left, then close off the row with just 1 single crochet into that last stitch. At the end of this row, we should have 3 more stitches than the last. And there you have it. We now have a total of 6 sedge stitch rows completed. We are now all experts at increasing with a sedge stitch, and that comes in handy when you want to shape any and all projects to come. Now what we're going to do from here is repeat these 6 previous rows until we now have a neckline portion that can reach from center chest out until we reach the side of the base of our neck. Then everyone is going to meet back right after an odd number row so that we'll be along the top where the tail end is. Then we'll work straight into the shoulder together from there. Now ending along the top could mean your last stitch is just a single crochet or it's an increase. Honestly, either is fine. We just want to make sure that we end at the top so that we don't have to cut and get started on the shoulder, because who wants extra tail ends? No one. We are back with our sample size. Now, just to let you guys know, I have a total of 11 rows. That's still not counting our foundation single crochet row. This width is just about 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. My increase height for the real one is just about 12 inches or 31 centimeters. Now, since we all should have ended along the top, we're all going to make a chain, again, that's in multiples of 3 that can reach the top of our shoulder. So making sure that the tail end of our piece is still staying at the base of our neck, we're going to make that chain. The chain that I made was just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I made a chain 9. Now we're going to sedge stitch all the way down. Nothing fancy to this row because there's no increases or decreases, so once we have our chain 2 and flip. Just to do the first into that chain that we blocked off, or the third chain from our hook, we're going to insert with a half and a double. We're going to skip 2 stitches into the next with a single half and a double. We're going to continue on with this sedge stitch till we all have 2 stitches left, closing off the row with just a single crochet. Our first shoulder row is completed. Now, since we want for this to be expertly tailored, all we're going to do from here is continue to repeat this shoulder row. So just chain 2, flip, sedge stitch all the way up, closing off the row with a single crochet. Again, no increases, no decreases, until we now have a panel that can reach from the center of our chest all the way out to we're 2 inches past the tip of our shoulder. Once we have that shoulder portion completed, do a chain up 1 and cut, then I will meet everyone back. And when one of our front panels is completed, we're going to make a second one that's exactly the same. So just to let you guys know, for one of my front panels, I had a total of 29 rows. That width is just about 9 inches or 23 centimeters. I did cut right after that last row. When we got this one done, I made a second. Once we have both of them done, we can now get started on the back panel. Okay, the back panel, even easier than the front. No increases, no shaping, just a good old rectangle. And the fun twist, while the front panels are worked vertically, the back panel is actually worked horizontally. That shift in direction adds a subtle design detail that really makes the whole piece pop. So let's get started. The back panel, starting with the foundation single crochet row, just like the front, worked in multiples of 3. You'll begin 2 inches past the tip of your shoulder, straight across your back, stopping 2 inches past the tip of your other shoulder. This foundation single crochet row does count as row 1 for the back panel. I made 84 foundation singles, and that's just about 19 inches or 48 centimeters. After that, we're going to keep going with our sedge stitch rows, no increases, no decreases, absolutely no fuss. Now, figuring out how many rows we'll have to do involves a tiny bit of math, but I got you, so let's figure it out together. So we're all going to take the number of stitches from our last shoulder row from the front panel. We're going to divide that number by 3. Now, since the sedge stitches is in multiples of 3, that should be super easy. So for example, I had a total of 60 stitches for my front panel's last shoulder row. So taking my 60, I divided that by 3. Then that answer, you're going to double it. So since I got 20 for my sum, I'm going to add 20 to 20, and that's going to give me 40. And that is the final number of rows that I will be doing for my back panel. So a total of 40 rows for mine, and it's already done. And heads up, your back panel might look a smidge smaller than the front. That's not a mistake, I promise. That's actually by design. Since we're working horizontally for the back panel, it's naturally going to kind of muffin up over the bottom band, but that's exactly what we want. Trust the process. I got you. It'll look great. Get the rest of your back panel done. If you have any questions or want to let me know what you had for lunch, leave a comment. Alrighty, we are almost done. I just completed the entirety of my back panel. Don't mind that it's slanted, it is a little too wide to show, but the height that I have is just about 12.5 inches or 32 centimeters. Now from here, we're just going to single crochet along the edges of the back panel to make it easier to seam to the front. So from where we're at, we're all going to chain 1. Now we're going to work into every side row, alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets in through every side row. And we're all going to start with 1 single crochet. So finding our first side row, this is mine right here. We're just going to find those top stitches, trace that all the way to the edge. If you pull apart that corner, we should get a little gap. We're going to insert in through that little gap with just 1 single crochet. Now our following side row, we can tell that this is that next side row because it has the beginning of the sedge stitch here, so it's a little bit pudgier. So we're going to find that top loop and insert with 2 singles. So there's 1, same top loop with a second. Let's do this again. Into my next side row, if we pull it apart, we get a little gap. So insert with 1 into the edge of that next side row, which is a little bit thicker, insert with 2. So there's 1, same side row with 2. We're going to continue doing this till we worked into our last side row, and if we did our math correctly, we should end up with the same amount of stitches as the last row for our shoulders. So a couple clips ago, I said I had a total of 60 stitches from my last shoulder row for the front panel. So for this, I should end with 60 as well. Okay, so we have just finished up single crocheting along the edge of one side of our back panel. We're actually going to do the same thing on the other side. But we're going to want to insert our hook into the bottom corner stitch, so where our foundation single crochet row is, because we want to show the front of the single crochet rows just like how this side does. So insert, then just repeat this single crochet row all the way up. We're going to end with the same amount of stitches as the other side so we can seam it up no problem. Our single crochet rows along the edge of our back panel are completed. Now we are going to do the same thing to the tops of the front panel only. So just to talk you guys through it, we're going to place our 2 front panels next to each other, making sure that the neckline is nearest to each other. Insert your hook into the top corner stitch of one of our front panels. Again, alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets in through every side row, chain up a 1 and cut at the corner. Then, just to make sure that the single crochet rows are going to be facing the same side, for the other side, insert it into the inner corner of the shoulder and work your way out, again alternating with our single crochets. Once we have both of these rows done, I'll meet you back so we can seam everything together. Okie dokie, so to seam up the shoulder, what we're going to do is place our front panel on top of our back panel. We are going to make sure that the front of our single crochets are faced in on each other so that once when everything is flipped right side out, all the seams are going to be along the inside. We also want to make sure that the neckline is within the center of the back. Then we're going to insert our hook into the top corner stitch of both the front and the back panel, insert your yarn onto your hook, yarn over, pull through, and chain 1 just to secure. Now doing our single crochet seam, we're going to insert our hook into that first stitch into the front panel, then into the first stitch into the back panel, and single crochet around everything. Again, next stitch into the front, insert, next stitch into the back, insert, and single, and that's pretty much it. We're just sandwiching our 2 panels and single crocheting in through both. Once we have that done, do the same thing on the other side, then I'll meet you back. Alrighty, shoulders are seamed, now we're going to seam up our sides. So first things first, we're going to try our piece on, then we're going to insert our stitch marker into any stitch from the top, making sure it's in multiples of 3 for the width that we'd like for the armhole to be. Now if you insert your stitch marker higher, you'll get a slimmer sleeve. If you insert your stitch marker lower, like how we did, you'll get a wider, comfier sleeve. But that's completely up to you. I went ahead and inserted my stitch marker into the 39th stitch from the top. That's just about 8.5 inches or 21 centimeters. Now from here, we're going to seam it up the same exact way that we did the shoulder. Now, like I said, the back panel might be a little bit shorter than the front. That's totally normal. It'll all start to even out once we get the seam going. So go ahead and do your same single crochet seam until we reach our stitch marker. Then I'll meet you back to get started on the length of our sleeve. Look at us, everything's starting to shape up. Now we're going to do our sleeves. Super simple as well. So what we're going to do is now make sure that our work is flipped right side out. So all of our seams should be along the inside. Then we're going to insert our hook into the stitch that we have that's nearest to the side seam within the armhole. Then we're going to make a chain again in multiples of 3 for the length that we'd like for the sleeve to be, keeping in mind that we are going to have a cuff as well. Now you can make this short, 3/4, super long, that's completely up to you. I wanted mine to be just about 3/4, so I'm going to start by making a chain 51, and that's just about 11 inches or 28 centimeters. Now once we have our chain, we're going to sedge stitch all the way on down. So just to do the first one, block off that last chain and chain 2. Into that chain that we blocked off, insert with our half double and double, skip 2 chains, then sedge stitch all the way down. When we have 2 stitches left, close off the row with just 1 single crochet. At the end of this row, we will end up with the same amount of stitches as chains that we made. Then I'll meet you back so we can connect it into the body together. All right, we made our way down with our first row. Now we're going to connect it into the base. So into the base, we're going to count up the next 2 available stitches. So this is our first, this is our second. Into that second, we're going to insert with a slip stitch. That slip stitch worked into the base doesn't actually count as a stitch, that's just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that following stitch into the base as well, but still doesn't count as a stitch. That's basically our turning chain, and flip our work. Now we're just going to sedge all the way back down. So making sure that we're not working into those 2 slip stitches into the base, we're going to find that first stitch from our previous row, which is our single crochet into that last stitch, and do our first sedge, which is half double double, then skip 2 stitches, then make your way down to the end of the row, closing off the row with 1 single crochet because we're not increasing or decreasing for the sleeve, so basically the back panel. At the end of the row, we're going to chain 2, flip our work, make our way back, then we'll close off the end of our row 3 together. We've made our way down with our row 3, we're going to connect it into the base, then just repeat our 2 previous rows. So all we're going to do is count up the next 2 stitches into the base, just like how we did our previous row. So there's 1, there's 2. Into that second stitch into the base, insert with a slip stitch. Remember that slip stitch into the base is just to connect. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that following stitch, flip our work, and repeat. So from here, all we're going to do is continue to repeat these 2 previous rows, making our way all the way up and around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I'll meet everyone back so we can seam it all together. Then we're going to finish up the sleeve portion with our super soft and squishy cuff. We've just made our way all the way around with our sleeve. We don't have any more stitches left to work into, so now we're going to seam it up the same way that we did the shoulders and the sides. So since we're all pros, I'm just going to talk you guys through it. We're all going to make sure that our work is flipped wrong side out, so all of our seams are going to be along the outside. Then we're just going to do the same exact single crochet seam, making our way all the way down. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain up of 1 and cut. Then we're going to get started on our cuff. Now with our sleeves seamed up and the sedge stitch showing off its gorgeous texture, it's time to add the finishing touch, which is a slip stitch cuff that locks in the structure and gives your sleeve a clean and modern polish. So what we're going to do is make sure that our work is now flipped right side out, so all of our seams are along the inside. Next, insert your hook into any one of the side rows along the bottom of our sleeve, and we're going to do a single crochet row. So insert your yarn onto your hook and chain 1. And all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet in through every side row just to help us cinch it up. So we're going to chain 1, I've already done mine, and finding our first side row, this is mine right here, I'm going to find that top loop and insert with just 1 single crochet. This is my next side row, so I'll find that top loop, insert with just 1 again, and that's it. From here, all we're going to do is put 1 single crochet in through every side row, making our way all the way around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, slip stitch into that chain space, then I'll meet you back. Quick tip, we should end up with the same amount of stitches as rows that we have. Alright, so our cinch is underway. Now we have slip stitched into that chain space, so now we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our cuff to be. You can make this as long or short as you want. I want just about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 12. Now that we have our chain, we're all going to do a slip stitch row. So when it comes to doing the slip stitch cuffs, we want a cleaner edge and a sturdier start. So we're all going to slip stitch into the back bumps. It's going to give our foundation chain a crisp professional finish with built-in symmetry that actually makes seaming a breeze. So what we're going to do is start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. We want to make sure that we're using a medium tension because if we pull through too tightly, the following row can be difficult to work into. So what we're going to do is into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to be looking at the front of our chain. So we're just going to turn our work over and find all of these back bumps. It should be just 1 bump all the way down. Insert your hook in through that 1 bump, and then we're going to yarn over and gently pull through everything on a hook. Now it may be a habit at this point that once when you pull all the way through, you want to tug it nice and secure with your working yarn. Don't do that, but we are going to do the next stitch. So insert your hook into that next back bump, yarn over, pull through everything, and that's it. That's working into the back bumps. Now if you want to take a look at what we're doing, we can flip our work over, and this is actually the bottom of our chain, but it looks just like the tops of our chain. This is going to make it a lot easier once we do our outside loop slip stitch seam in the following few clips. Our first slip stitch row is all done. Now we're going to connect it into the base, and that base is that cinching single crochet row. So what we're going to do is just find that next available stitch and slip stitch into there. Now that slip stitch into the base doesn't count as a stitch, that is purely just to connect. Then, to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that following stitch into the base. Still doesn't count as a stitch, that's basically our turning chain for row 2, and flip our work. And now we're going to put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. So just like the sleeve, we want to make sure that we're not working into any of those slip stitches into the base. We're going to insert our hook in through that back loop, yarn over, and gently still pull through everything on our hook. We still want to make sure that we're not pulling through too tightly. Continue with one back loop slip stitch into every stitch. At the end of the row, we're going to chain one, flip our work, and put one back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. Now this cuff is fairly simple since we aren't doing any increases or decreases. And once we master this, the bottom band and the collar will actually be done exactly the same way. So these next few sections, oh, easy peasy. Our first 3 rows are complete. Now we're going to connect it into the base together again just to make sure that we all have it down. And just like how we did the first row, we're just going to find that next available stitch into the base, slip stitch into there. Remember, it doesn't count as a stitch. Then to work our way up to the following row, slip stitch up that following stitch into the base, flip our work, and put one back loop slip into every stitch, and that is it. We're going to continue repeating these 2 rows. Again, no increases, no decreases till we don't have any more stitches left to work into, and when we don't, I'll meet you back so we can do our outside loop slip stitch seam together. Now our stunning cuff is nearly completed. Now it's time for the seam. So make sure your work is flipped side up and out so it can look like another slip stitch row, and insert your hook into the corner stitches. Then yarn over, pull through everything on our hook. And what we're going to do is find that first stitch into the front panel and insert only into that front loop. Next stitch into the back panel, we're going to insert only into that back loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 of those loops. That should look like another back loop slip stitch row. So again, into that next stitch into the front panel, insert only into that front loop or the loop that's nearest to you. Into that next stitch into the back panel, insert only into that back loop or the loop that's furthest from you. Yarn over, pull through everything, and continue. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain up of 1 and cut. So that seam, all done. Now from here, we're going to repeat our sleeve and cuff on the other side. But for tutorial's sake, I'm actually going to do that off camera. So now, when you have both of your sleeves done, we're now going to get started on our bottom band. So make sure your work is still flipped right side up, right side out. Then making sure that the neckline is closest to us, we're going to insert our hook into the left corner stitch of our front panel. Then we're just going to do a single crochet row, making our way all the way around. Now this single crochet row is actually going to be exactly the same way that we single crocheted along the edge of the back panel. As a refresher, alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets in through every side row. Once we reach the back panel, 1 single crochet in through every stitch, but also along the edges of our back panel, 1 single crochet into those side single crochet rows that we did as well. Then once we work our way across the back, towards the front, again, alternating between 1 to 2 single crochets in through every side row. Then once we reach this corner, we'll meet back so we can get started on the length of our bottom band. And now, with the power of editing, my single crochet row is completed. Now for the length. I'd like for my bottom band to be about 3 inches or 8 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain 17, then do my same exact back loop slip stitch rows, again no increases or decreases, until we make our way all the way around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, I'll meet you back right after we cut. And now we're going to start the collar, so let's take a look at the top. So our collar is going to be done pretty much the same way that the bottom band is done. So we're going to make sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up. We're going to insert our hook into our left top corner stitch of our front panel, then single crochet all the way around until we reach this corner. Starting with working into our side rows, we are again going to alternate between 1 to 2 single crochets in through every side row. Then once we reach our stitches, so working our way up our shoulder and across our back, 1 single crochet in through each of those. Then I'll meet you back once we reach the other corner. So our single crochet row along our collar is completed. Now we're going to do more back loop slip stitch rows, just like how we did our cuff and our bottom band for the height that we like for this neckline to be. Now I'd like for mine to be, again, roughly 3 inches or 8 centimeters, just like my bottom band. So I'm going to start by making a chain 17, then just do back loop slip stitch rows all the way back around. When we don't have any more stitches left to work into, do a chain up 1 and cut, then I'll meet you back. Our collar is locked in. Now it's time to zip things up literally, and the next step is going to bring so much structure and ease and a satisfying swish to the garment, and that is adding a zip. Now, I am not a sewing tutorialist, so honestly, use whatever technique feels right to you, but just in case you're curious, this is what I did. I pinned my zipper down as close as possible to the front panel's opening. Yes, I am using binder clips, don't judge. Then, I did a running stitch with my tapestry needle and the same yarn as the jacket. A couple things you want to keep in mind when sewing the zipper. We want to try to align the bottom band and the mock neckline so that everything stays looking clean and intentional. Once when the zipper was secure, I did fold my excess zipper tape inward so that the raw edge wouldn't peek through once when the jacket was open. And for that part, I did switch out to black thread and a needle, but still use the same running stitch. And that's pretty much it. And you know what I did? My best is what I did. My zipper, all done. Now the last thing we have to do is simply weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope y'all enjoyed the tutorial. Enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us what food makes you think of the fall. For me, that would definitely have to be sweet potatoes. Details for the giveaway down below. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or X. Those links are down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye.